Being successful in sales is all about being able to understand the person that you are selling to. And in this video, I'm going to share with you insights from a brilliant book called Surrounded by Idiots, written by a guy called Thomas Erikson. He's a behavioral expert who's worked with some massive organizations. His book is a bestseller. It's a brilliant book in how to be able to understand people more effectively and to know who we're talking to in order to get the right result to work and engage with them. My name is James White. I'm a man that loves learning. That's why I love Thomas Erikson's books. I'm going to encourage you to read this one. But in this video, we're going to talk through the 4 characteristics of the book, the different elements of the way in which people are, and how you can react and adjust your sales behavior in order to get the right result that you want. Thomas Erikson identified, and based upon a behavioural science that was used called DISC styles, that when we engage with people from a sales perspective, people will generally fall into one of 4 categories. And by the way, these 4 categories, we're not going to say everyone has to be in one or the other. There'll be mergers and types of styles of people. But it's quite common when we engage with people from a sales and business perspective that people are different. There are certain people that are quite outspoken, that are driven, that want to operate in a certain way. And there's other people that's a bit more methodical, a bit more mature in how they approach things. There's other people that are really conversational and chatty. And there's other people that might want data or information or analysis to be able to back up what they're seeing. The key thing that Thomas Erikson identified is when we're in sales, and what we also know is we've got to be able to know who we're speaking to and then adjust our behavior accordingly. One of the best sales skills you can have is to have self-awareness, to be able to know that if you're talking to someone that wants to see detail and isn't particularly a friend, is a bit more introverted and is not engaging with the small talk, then the key way to be able to do that is to make your conversations short and to the point and give them what they need. Whereas actually, if you really want to try and pick a fight with an extrovert or a person that's really driven and ambitious, then the chances are it's going to end in failure. So what Erikson identified is that these 4 categories are critical in being able to understand the person you're engaging with. And what we can do, if we can do it in the right way, is make sure we react and respond to them. So let's look at each 4 of the styles individually and see a little bit more about these people and who they are and what they start to look like. So the first style that we often see is people that are red. These people are generally very driven, they're ambitious, they're extroverted, they're sort of macho, they've got this drive to achieve success and feel really powerful as a result of what they do. And when we're engaging with people that are in the red style, we've got to understand the dynamics of who that person is. People in the red style are going to prioritise speed and efficiency. They might come across as being a bit dictatorial or controlling, and their body language is powerful handshakes. They lean forward aggressively and they speak with a strong voice. When we're engaging with those who are in the red category, we've got to understand the dynamics of who these people are. And the challenge that you'll sometimes get is if you want to be slow and meek and a bit methodical with these people, you're going to struggle. They want to see action and make it happen. So making sure you can adjust your behaviours to know how they want to operate is key. So what can you do to adapt your style to make sure you do well with reds? Make sure you're quick and brief. Make sure you focus on the essentials and have an opinion. Demonstrate hard work, but maybe confront them if a behaviour crosses the line. Remind them that sometimes that speed doesn't always achieve the right results. And when you're giving feedback to a red, maybe be upfront and honest to them. Don't sugarcoat it. Give them concrete examples and stick to facts over feelings, but be able to repeat what you've agreed and be able to calmly handle a conflict. The reality is when you're engaging with reds, you've got to approach them in a certain style. And when you identify someone's a red, know it and adjust and start looking, maybe with the Erikson book, red, and you've read and started to take notes from it, can help you then identify how to approach it and what to do and what not to do. So the next style are yellows, obviously in black for the course of the video, but if we put yellow on a board, it wouldn't have shown up. The reality is that yellows, and sometimes in this category, they're extroverts, they're relationship people. They love to have conversations and to really engage with people, and they can talk for hours. Some might say, I'm a yellow, who knows? But the reality is, these people are generally quite gregarious, they're outgoing, and they're great people to have sales conversations with. But they also have some challenges. These people sometimes don't focus on some of the detail that's needed. They're a bit more focused on the conversation and the relationship rather than what needs to happen. Those that are yellow also will focus on developing relationships. They're curious, they show lots of energy in the way in which they approach situations. But again, sometimes that can have the negative effect if you're dealing with people the other side of the equation. It can sometimes put those people off. So how can you adapt to yellows and make sure you're doing the right things to get a response with someone that you know is in this category? The key thing is to create a warm and friendly atmosphere around them. Make sure you strip away unnecessary detail and focus on the big issues. Give them space to work on, but really check that they've listened and really emphasise with the gut feel decisions that they're likely to do. When you're giving feedback to a yellow, make sure you prepare an agenda and stick to it. Don't let them eat up the time, they'll talk forever, and give them concrete examples of what's going on and get them to repeat what you've agreed, but make sure that they don't take it personally. The reality is the yellows are of a certain style, they're in this camp of being extroverted and active, and they want to be able to understand relationships, but they also really feel like they're not as in the detail around the tasks. And sometimes that can make a yellow really keen to get something done and think about the consequences later. The reality is when you know what that person is, focus on understanding them, know what their good points are and how to react and respond to them. So the opposite of the reds are the blues. These are the people that are generally quite introverted, they're quite passive, they're reserved about how they operate, and they're very much focused on the tasks that need to be done. They're detail merchants, they're really good at what they do and they've got that eye for doing things in a certain way. But they're probably going to be a bit quieter than the reds. They're not this outgoing dictatorial style of person, but they're going to be one of those sort of silent assassins, someone that gets it done without you knowing that they were there. So how can you make sure you react and respond to the blues in the right way? When you're working with blues, make sure you do your homework. Stick to the facts and provide the detail that they will need in order to be able to get things done. They're not going to just buy into your sales bluff. They're going to want to see information that makes them realise that certain things can happen and come to life. They're going to want to have some detailed examples, but they're going to give you some questions back. They're going to want to see detail around how it's going to be delivered, and they're going to want to get factual around how certain situations will happen. The other key thing about blues is the chances are you're not going to build this friendship with them as you might with a red or a yellow. They're going to be quite strict and to the point and focus on what business needs to be done. And that's okay, because if they make the decision and you can react to them in the right way, then all that matters is you getting the result you need. The key thing to remember is that blues are very different to other styles. They don't work. And blues and yellows will sometimes be a huge clash because one person is outgoing, the other person is not, and you get a clash in the middle that doesn't work. The reality is when you know you've got a blue, understand that dynamic, understand about who they are, and focus on being able to give them the information they need, give them the detail, let them time. They need time to let their things percolate through their brain, rather than a red who might make a decision quite quickly and then regret it later. These are the thinkers that we're engaging with, and when we're dealing with thinkers, we've got to give them the information we need, show them, ask them for information of what's required to give them to make a decision, but understand that their dynamic is different and we have to adapt to it if we're going to get the result we want. And the final category are the greens. These are the people that are generally pretty relationship orientated. These people are great team players. They're really keen to get involved in something, and sometimes they struggle to say no, the greens. So you have to be careful when you're buying, if you're selling to a green, that you don't get someone that says yes and then gives you buyer's remorse afterwards, because they still have the ability and want to be able to be a bit more reserved and conscious of their actions. They're not as detailed orientated as the blues, but they've still got those characteristic styles of being introverted and passive and a bit more reserved. They're going to not want to be the soul and party like maybe a yellow will be, but they're still going to be important people to do business with. So how can we deal with the greens effectively? So when you're engaging with a green, be really prepared to listen what they're anxious about. Give them some time for periods of peace. They're reserved people and they need that time to recharge and really think through what they're looking to do. Make sure if you're going to criticise them or give them feedback, you do it in private. They're not the sort of people that want to engage and get that public information and be shown up in public. But what they are looking for is concrete examples to explain how to handle something. But you need to ensure you have adopted a gentle approach. Greens can take things very badly, and they can really start to think that their behaviour is the problem, not necessarily the person. The key thing about greens is that they are relationship people, but they're maybe a bit sensitive compared to some of the reds who don't give a monkey's what anyone thinks. They're just going to go and do what they need to do. The key thing around this whole video is you've got these different styles of people. And what Thomas Erikson does in his brilliant book, which I so encourage you to read, is that when you're in sales, it's our job to understand the other person. Stephen Covey, the great business guru, said, seek first to understand to then be understood. And so many salespeople go in with a one-fits-all approach that may work with a red, but won't work with a blue. The best salespeople know how to adjust their approach to engage with the right person at the right time. They know what to say, how to react, how to adjust. They have emotional sales intelligence to be able to do the right thing to get the right result. And so I encourage you to be in the same position. Focus and take these actions. Have a little listen when you're engaging with a person for the first time to get a sense of the character of who they are. Try and identify maybe what category they fit into through the model that Erikson outlined. Try and have a little think about what they could be. And if they are a blue, then let's have a little think about what could be the things that we have to do to avoid winding those people up the wrong way. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's given you an insight into a brilliant book that I encourage you to read. It should be on every salesperson's reading material. Read it, take what you can from it to adjust your behaviour. Know what you do that will affect the right type of people in the right way, and it's going to put you on a path to stellar success. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like, subscribe to the channel. Let's make sure we get lots of people the resources they need to have great conversations, whether it's business or sales or whatever it is, that get brilliant results. And if you have enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and let's share this with other people so that we can get more people having great conversations that get brilliant results. Thanks for watching, and see you next Saturday for another video.